In this video, I'm going to show you a few simple yet extremely effective ways to add lighting to your photos. A little while ago, I created this photo and I realized just how many lighting effects that I used. Here is the before and here is the after. I want to share with you some of the easy techniques that I used to edit these photos. Let's get into the video. For this tutorial, I'm using this image that I took. I want this car so bad, maybe one day. Tip 1, I'm going to be adding haze behind the car. What I do first is create a new layer with the brush tool selected, hold the Alt key and select a color from the background, usually the sky. I quite like this orange glow from the sun in the sky. Click on that. And then with a low flow, around 10% and quite a big brush, I'll start painting over the car for now, don't worry, it will go behind the car eventually, and start building it up. So start from the center and then gradually make the brush bigger and just keep painting over. So it's a gradual build up. Okay, that's looking good, so I'll change it to screen. One way of removing it from the front of the car is create a mask by clicking the button down here. And with the brush, a flow 100% and make sure it's a black brush. Start painting it out like this. Obviously this way is not super accurate. You'd have to go really detailed and make the brush harder and go right to the edges. It'll take quite a while. The most accurate way that I would probably do it is by using the pen tool, but that takes quite a bit of time too, so I'm going to speed this part up. Okay, so I've made a selection. So I'm going to click on the layer with the car and just press the Alt button. And now it's just showing the car by itself. And I can drag the car on top of the haze and there you go. To make it a little bit more realistic, I'm going to reduce the opacity slightly. I'm also going to create a mask and paint out the bottom of the haze, just so it's not going into the shadows. Just like that. So this is before and this is after. On to the next step. The next step is creating a sun glare in front of the car, and this is also really simple. All you have to do is go to the adjustments, click on solid color. I'm gonna make it an orange color, similar to the color of the sun, something like that. Press OK, invert this layer mask so it's no longer showing. Then with a big white brush on a low flow, around 10%, going to paint it in from the direction of where the sun would be. So I think it's coming from the right side. So I'm gonna paint it in like this, something like that. Change it to screen mode so it's a bit more natural looking and turn down the opacity. And there you go. That's all it takes. Tip number 3 is essentially turning on all of the lights in the scene. This does only work if there are lights to turn on in the scene. For example, the headlights on this car can be turned on, or in other photos there might be street lamps or window lights. Pretty much anything that makes sense. But since the headlights are the most obvious part of this photo, I'm going to turn these on. There's quite a few ways to do this and I do switch it up sometimes, but this is how I would normally do it. On a new layer with the brush tool, I'm going to make the flow 100% and I'm going to click once and then holding shift and clicking off the screen. It's going to create a straight line and then click again here. And then again, move the cursor off screen, holding shift and it will create another straight line. And then with the lasso tool up here, I'm going to click in between these lines and then fill it with Alt backspace. And there's your headlight. Just kidding, guys. Next step is to create a layer mask. Make sure the layer is on screen mode. Change to the brush tool with a low flow, around 10% again. 10% is my favorite number. I'm going to make a big soft brush and with the black brush on the layer mask, I'm going to soften the edges like this. Obviously we don't want the light to be this strong all the way across. We want it to fall off as it gets further away. So I'll put this layer in a group by pressing Ctrl G, and then I'll create another mask. And again with the black brush and a low flow, I'm going to gradually paint across. Something like that. Next step, I'm actually going to brighten up the center of this bulb right here. I'm going to create another layer on top of here, drag it above the group, and then with a soft brush, maybe a slightly higher flow, I'm going to start from the center, click, make the brush bigger, click again, make the brush bigger, click again, make it bigger, and so on. Just until you think it's bright enough. I will change the color eventually. It's looking a bit too orange for my liking. Nice. And one last step is create another layer. I've downloaded a lens flare brush pack right here. I'll choose a random one. Make the flow 100%. Okay, that looks quite nice. And click right on the bulb. Yeah, this is definitely looking a bit too orange. So I'm gonna name these layers just so I remember what the hell I'm doing. I'll group them all on the adjustments panel. I'll click on hue and saturation and create clipping mask by clicking Alt between the two layers. Click colorize, turn the saturation all the way up just to see what color I'm getting, and then turn it down until it looks a bit more natural. And you can turn the lightness up as well if you want it to be brighter. Don't forget to make all of the layers screen. I'll just adjust the opacity on each of the layers until I think the balance is right. Sweet, once I've done that, I'm gonna group them again so the hue and saturation is in. I'll name that front light. I'll duplicate it and then Control T to transform. Move it to the other headlight and shrink it down a little bit so it fits. This has obviously left a hard edge, so I'm going to go back to the glow and Control T to transform it and just shift it slightly. I'm also going to reduce the opacity of each of these layers just so it looks right. Nice, and that's looking good. If you want to adjust the fall off even more, you can group them all together and then create another mask, and then you can kind of paint it out a little bit. It's all up to you, completely up to you. Sweet, so this is without any of the lighting, and this is with. Tip number 4 is God rays. This is what you would usually see if the sun is shining through the clouds or through the trees. You can also use it to create some ambient lighting with car headlights. It's really up to you. This is one way that I make it. So I'll create a new layer. I'm gonna fill it with black just so we can see what we're doing. Create another layer. I'm gonna go up to filter, render, and clouds. I'm gonna make sure my color is white. Do that again. Sick. And then create a mask. Alt click on the mask so it inverts it with a big soft brush that is white. Going to click directly in the middle. Make sure the flow is 100%. And then I'm gonna apply that layer mask and go up to filter, blur, radial blur. Make sure it's 100 on zoom, good quality is fine, and make sure this is in the center. Press OK, and as you can see, it's already producing the effect that we want, but I'm gonna make it go even further. So you can redo the effect that you just did by pressing Alt Control F. I'm going to do that a couple of times. Nice, and then I'm gonna hide the black layer, change the blending mode to add, then I'm going to move it on top of the headlight, like so. Turn the opacity down a little bit. To make it more obvious, we can go to Image, Adjustment, Levels, or Control L. I'm gonna move this slider up. I'm gonna move this slider down. And as you can see, it's a bit more obvious now. Press OK, create a layer mask, and with a black brush, I'm going to paint out the top. So it's only going where the glow of the car lights are going. Duplicate that, shift this one to the other side, shrink it down a bit, reduce the opacity slightly. It's added a bit more texture into the light, as if there's fog in front of the car. This is without any of the lights, and this is with all of them. Tip 5 isn't so much adding on to what we've already done, but it is to show you that there are some tools which help produce these effects. For example, there are brushes. If I create a new layer, and I'm gonna hide the lights just so you can see it easier, and I've downloaded a free fog brush pack. Instead of using just a plain standard brush, this creates some really nice natural looking fog. I'm going to turn the flow down again. It's really good for quickly creating atmosphere like this. And there's many different types. They're all quite similar. They have a very slight variation. Or there are other packs which are essentially like stamps. So I'll click on one of these, and as you can see, they've already made it for you. So all you have to do is click once and it gives you a really nice kind of smoky texture. Create a black layer just so you can see it easier, just like that. Keep in mind, some of them do have hard edges. You can paint them out with a mask and soft round brush like this, just so it still looks natural. But yeah, that is another really quick and easy way to get this effect. I've gone ahead and added a curves adjustment just to make the background darker so the lights stand out. I feel like it makes it that much more cinematic. Obviously, you can do whatever you want with these. This is just for the tutorial, so I've stuck as much as I can on top of each other. Depending on what kind of vibe you want for your photos, you can use a combination of them or just one of them, however you feel. Well, but that is all I have for today. I hope at least one tip will help you take your edits to the next level. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and leave a comment, or take it one step further and subscribe to the channel. I will love you forever. I will see you all in the next video.